not to mention drug boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, carrying drugs headed to the United States to poison the American people. We're not playing the whole catch and release game anymore. These are foreign terrorist organizations, the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we will sink every drug boat headed in our direction, reestablishing deterrence.
The Department of Defense, that sanitized, bureaucratic relic, is officially a thing of the past. It's been replaced by what we actually need, the Department of War. Secretary Pete Hegseth didn't just walk to the podium to deliver a memo. He issued a lethal new directive for our southern maritime borders. His order: sink them all. No more paperwork, no more processing, just immediate action against the threats heading for our shores. If you thought this was just another boring Pentagon presser, you weren't paying attention. This was a total rewrite of how America deals with the world. Hegseth stood there, framed by a dark, unforgiving backdrop, looking like a man who's done playing games. And look at the podium. That seal doesn't say Department of Defense anymore. It proudly screams Department of War. This isn't just a paint job. It's a warning. It tells the world that the days of us sitting back and waiting to be hit are over. The era of bureaucratic hand-wringing is dead and buried. We're moving from a passive stance to a predatory one. Hegseth was grave, intense, and made it crystal clear. The old rules are in the trash, and the new reality is going to be staggering for anyone standing in our way. Hegseth's message to the cartels was short, sweet, and for many of them, it'll be the last thing they hear. The old way of just trying to interdict or catch these guys is gone. The new plan? Take them out at sea before they ever get close. He wasn't stuttering when he said the goal is to dismantle every single vessel moving poison toward our kids. Here's the kicker. These cartels aren't being treated like common criminals anymore. The Department of War has officially labeled them foreign threat entities. That's a fancy way of saying we're treating them like an invading army. This reclassification gives our Navy and Air Force the green light to use overwhelming lethal force. No more handcuffs, just hardware. Don't think this just fell out of the sky. This whole shift started quietly back in late 2025 with something called Operation Southern Spear, under President Trump's direct orders. While the media was distracted, the military was already moving. They were testing the waters, literally, with kinetic strikes against trafficking boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. It was the first real sign that the rules of engagement had been flipped on their head. We've moved from reacting to what they do to hunting them down at the source. It's about cutting the head off the snake before it even thinks about crossing into our waters. That is the new operational reality. For way too long, patriots like you had to sit there and watch in pure disgust as the catch and release crowd ran the show. You saw the poison flooding our streets while the people in charge made excuses. Hegseth's speech was a middle finger to that entire era of failure. The weakness that made our borders look like a revolving door, it's being fixed with decisive action. The frustration you felt for years, that feeling that no one was coming to save the country, has finally been heard at the highest levels. The message is simple. If you try to bring that poison here, you won't be caught and given a court date. You'll be erased. This isn't just about small-time boat captains. It's a full-scale assault on the root of the rot, specifically the operations linked to Venezuela. This escalation in the drug war was the setup for the big one. It paved the road for that daring special ops mission that finally ended with the capture of Nicolás Maduro. By treating these networks as existential threats to our survival, the administration justified a level of force we haven't seen in decades. It told every dictator and kingpin in the region that American patience hasn't just run thin, it's gone. Sinking those drug boats was just the opening act for reasserting American dominance in our own backyard. Of course, the usual suspects in DC are losing their minds. The left-wing critics are already crying about international norms and dangerous overreach. But if you look at what real Americans are saying, the vibe is completely different. People are breathing a sigh of relief. Online, the support is through the roof because the base is tired of excuses. They see Hegseth's move as the only way to actually protect American lives. For the first time in a long time, the mission is America first, and the people are all in, no matter how much the rest of the world screams about it. Make no mistake, we've entered uncharted territory. Turning the Department of Defense back into the Department of War isn't just for show, it's a promise of action. Hegseth's message is echoing in every capital across the globe. America is done tolerating the slow-motion invasion of its territory and the poisoning of its people. The gloves aren't just off, they've been burned. We're seeing a return to the kind of unapologetic strength that doesn't ask for permission to secure its own home. The only real question left is, how much further is the Department of War willing to go?